All right, it's Thursday, September 7th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a two down kind of reversal looking bar where we took out the low of the previous day, but yet came back into the range and closed green a little bit. So it kind of sets up a signal tomorrow to go long on a two up bar with a target, first target up here. But it also kind of gets exciting that if we do get some kind of a buy that doesn't reach that, then we're kind of ending up with a red week by the end of the inside bar, but a red week. And if it closes closer to the lows, then you kind of anticipate at least attempting to go down into next week. At that point, you can see if you get a weekly continuation towards these targets, or if we get a weekly failure where we kind of come down below the low of last week, but then come back up through the midpoint of that week. Anytime I see an inside bar, I'm considering a failed breakout one way or the other. So if we don't get much of a rally, we end up red on this week tomorrow, and then that kind of anticipates a little bit of a probe lower. You can kind of judge what happens. So that'll kind of be exciting in terms of next week. If we get some kind of signal up here that just doesn't follow through much and then starts down, at least you can get a head start on that push down and then kind of see if it takes out the weekly low and then continues strongly or begins to fail. So a lot will be clearer next week. We also, of course, could not at all start up tomorrow. We can start below the midpoint here and just continue lower, and we have now these targets, today's low and this low right here next to each other, and I kind of can envision that being taken out on a broadening action here, daily up, higher highs, and then a lower lows relative to this green bar. So let's see how things go tomorrow. It certainly wasn't a strong day. I was kind of anticipating this kind of day. I discussed yesterday how it was a tricky scenario given you had exhaustion risk to the downside, so you weren't necessarily looking for momentum down anymore, and yet the continuity on the week and the month were still red, so you weren't looking for much up. And if we look at the daily structure today, that's exactly what unfolded. I mean, we had this pre-market range that was kind of getting ready to go lower, but right out of the gates, the green bar developed inside, never really broke below that bar. What I did was, once I saw this green bar form about an hour into trading, a little over an hour into trading, and had a little pullback that wasn't going to reject that high immediately, I decided to buy some calls just in case we were going to come up a little bit, and we kind of grinded higher for the rest of the day. If anything, in the morning trade, we made one little push, pause, second push, and that ended the morning. And you could see from that moment on, almost nothing, just sideways, chopping everyone up. And the overall day, just chopping everything up. After this big drop yesterday, we're just kind of in a little range, kind of at the lower end of, that red bar from yesterday. If you think about it that way, we came down, we went up by the end of the day, came down, went up. So this is like a little range at the moment you can think about. But anyway, it sets up for nothing that exciting tomorrow, although you can see, if we get a buy above today's high and above the pre-market range, we can try that and see if we get a strong reversal looking bar. If it fails and we kind of, let's say, start up and come to the midpoint, we can try a sell and see if it really closes the week red, which would kind of set us up for a little more continuation to the downside. So this is, given that the short-term trend's down and this is kind of a pausing area, these 2 days combined, you can see it here. After most of the move yesterday and today is just a big pause, there could definitely be strong continuation to the downside given that the short-term trend's down. So, or we could get some kind of reversal, but given today's action, it almost seems like we want to go lower and we want to close this week red and kind of see what happens into next week. So let's see what develops. But today was just kind of like I said, just a tricky day to really read what was going to happen, and we weren't expecting much direction one way or the other, and that's what developed. So let's see how the week ends tomorrow.